Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com. Welcome to Seat Time, everybody. Brian Pierce here, your host for the evening. So this is going to be episode 121 of the online show for the off-road enthusiast. It's Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, when we like to go live. I would say that the weather here in Texas, as we like to talk about because it changes daily, it feels like, it's actually been kind of consistent. Last Tuesday, it felt good. It was nice. It still feels good. It's nice. It's not too chilly, not too warm. Unfortunately, it's going to be warming up soon, so we'll probably have 8 months straight of 100-degree weather, and it's going to suck. This past weekend was great because we had the National Enduro here in Texas. It was so much fun. That will be, I would say, the basis for what we're going to talk about tonight, as we have a lot of our guests on. So for those of you, though, who have maybe never tuned into Seat Time before, this is definitely the online show where we just like to bench race and beer drink with all the racers and riders and viewers out there about the going-ons and happenings within the off-road world. So our guest for this evening, we're going to have Charlie Mullins on. First up, he's got his little iPad mini ready to go there in his kitchen. And then after that, we're going to talk to Hufford Jr. after his best National Enduro finish this past weekend. And then Jubal Brown, who's just a fun dude to talk to. And I want to bring a different aspect to the show, and I think he's going to be able to do that. And it'll be fun to get his opinion on a lot of the stuff that's been going on. So Seat Time, you can find us at seattime.co. That's the website. Of course, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of the fun social aspects of that. Seat Time is brought to you by Fly Racing. You can check them out at flyracing.com. Fast Company, the guys there in Washington, Utah. You can find them at fastco.com. And, of course, Stillwell Performance. Great makers of amazing suspension. They will tune your dampening till you can't be dampened anymore. You can find them at stillwellperformance.com. Big supporters of Seat Time, and we thank them for their support. Of course, you can find all the paraphernalia we have at seattime.bigcartel.com. If you would like to support us, we would appreciate it if you did. So now, to get into the show. Woohoo! Episode 121. Sorry for all the house cleaning, but you know what? It's got to be done. Got to thank everybody. We have to say, Mr. Charlie Mullins, how is your evening going, kind sir?
It's been good. Just got the little one off the bed and just kicking back on the couch, watching some TV and getting ready to have a good day of riding and training tomorrow.
Nice. Yeah. So we have to say congratulations on another National Enduro win. I don't think this is going to be the first time I say that to you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a great way the season's been going. So just taking it race by race, and we have the next one in Tennessee. So right now, just kind of put my focus towards GNCCs. But that enduro, it was really good this past weekend, and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was one of the things that I noticed when we talked to different riders from different parts of the country is how different that race seems. A lot of people don't expect to come to Texas and race that type of race. Now, this isn't the first time you've raced that event because we were there last year. But, kind of what's your synopsis? If you were to kind of try to encapsulate that race in maybe like 5 words, what would you do? How would you use?
Rocky, dry, fast. That's pretty much all it really was, them 3 right there. But it was good. It had a nice flow. The pro section was pretty gnarly, I thought. But I didn't think it was that bad. You just had to be patient and not override the bike just the way the rocks were. There's just so much loose rock, and it was just extremely dry with that silt on top. So it was just kind of a patient race and just kind of taking your time almost.
Right.
Go slow. You almost had to go slow to go fast.
I definitely want to talk to you about the A-only section because I have some of my own opinions. I've raced that race quite a few times, and that's definitely something I'm going to bring up. But I wanted to know, you said the changing conditions and the fact of like not being patient, not overriding the course, especially with those rocks. What are some of the setup changes going into that race that you might have made this year since you've ridden it last year and knew kind of what to expect. What were maybe some bike setup changes that you made specific for the event?
I did nothing. I ran the same exact setup as I did in South Carolina.
Really? So you went from the Sandlapper to that race with the almost the exact same bike, or the exact same bike?
Same exact setup, just different tires.
So what
That's all it
tires
was.
did you run? What would in that case? What would be some good tires that you ran?
I ran the Dunlop 71 front and the AT 81 rear, and it seemed really well. The tires held up really well. I used the same front all day and switched the rears after the third test. Just really didn't even need to, but I just wanted to have a fresh tire on for the pro section. So I felt like I had a good tire setup, and the bike worked well. So I really don't. Once I get a setup, I really don't change too much.
Right. And this actually just came to me at the top of my head. It's interesting that you guys are changing tires and maybe throughout the day. Maybe you're sticking with the same model. You're just adding a new tire, a little bit different. Some more rubber for later on in the day. If the National Enduro Series made more of a regulation, they don't now, but had a regulation like they do with like you would have at 6 days or the World Enduros, where they would mark the tire, so the tire you start with at the beginning of the day is the tire you end with that day. You wouldn't be able to change. Do you think that would affect things very much, or would it even the playing fields in any strange way, or would that really not change very much at the top ranks?
I don't really see it. It wouldn't really change that much. Like Sandlapper, I didn't change tires all day. Texas, just of the extreme rocks and being dry, I think that's why we just did it. Just for precautionary reasons. Just I wanted a new tire, but like I said, I really don't think it made that much of a difference. And being how the national enduros are with nice fresh trail, I don't really think changing tires is that much of an advantage unless you switch a different model or something, which I know some guys do. Some guys feel more comfortable running a different tire for a certain test and than others, but for me, I just kind of stick with the same tire setup and just go with it.
Huh. Interesting. Okay, yeah, and like I said, it hadn't just kind of occurred to me. I was like, man, at the ISDE, you guys start with a tire, end with a tire, and I wonder if that kind of would change the thinking at all, or if in reality it really wouldn't make that big of a difference. And so to you, obviously, it probably wouldn't make any difference, but maybe some of the other guys out there it might be. It'd be interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I wish we could change tires at 6 days because they suck. They're nothing like the ones we run over here, and I wish we could put a new one on for each special test just because they just work so differently.
Yeah, and it's a different compound and everything, right? I mean, they just wear so different.
Yeah, it's basically a dual sport tire is all it is. So it's like a street legal tire. So it's not nowhere near as aggressive as the tires that we're used to and how I like to ride. I really like using that sidewall and leaning the bike over.
Yeah,
And
you
do
can't
that
do that
with
on those dual sport tires.
no, no, not at all.
Oh man. So last week I thought it was interesting that Jason Hooper. Well, Jason Hooper was on, and I thought it was interesting that he said hands down that you were going to win this weekend. I agreed. I was like, you know what? I was like, I really think that the way that you dominated at the Sandlapper, that you were going to be able to carry that momentum. Obviously, you've been doing really good at the GNCCs. Georgia's a mud race, so it's just an interesting race in itself. What is it that what do you do? You're taking a race one race at a time, but what are you doing that you think that you could come out swinging at the first test and just be so dominant and to carry that dominance throughout the entire day that might be different from other riders out there?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I always start off strong. I think that's the best way to make a statement during the day or right off the bat is just go out and put down a good test. But for me, I really focus on just staying smooth and steady and just riding as hard as I possibly can is basically all I really do. And I know if I'm able to get through the test 100%, if I'm able to ride it 100% as hard as I can and not make mistakes, I'll be just fine. And the mindset that I go in. I just ride as hard as I can.
Right. Do you think if we saw a few more GNCC riders, specifically some of the XC1 guys at the National Enduros, how do you think that they would fare with their times against yours?
Um, I guess it depends on who you're talking about, but I think
I was thinking it'd be interesting if, say, like a Josh Strang. Like Josh Strang kills it at the 6 days. Does obviously doing extremely well this year. XC1 on the new bike. Somebody like a Josh Strang, like if he came out to a national enduro, would it be the terrain where he could be able to compete, if not beat some of the national enduro guys, including yourself, or do you think that it might still take a little bit for him to kind of get into the mix?
I think he'd do well. It's just so different the type of racing. I think the biggest thing for somebody like Josh, they'd have to be in the right mindset and wanting to ride the tight enduro trails. I know a lot of GNCC guys aren't a big fan of the tight enduro type trails, so I think that's kind of why they steer clear. But I think just like anybody, if they practice it and just go in with the right mindset, I think they'd be competitive with me. And obviously, they know how to ride, so it's just the wanting to do it and practicing it, I think, is what it would take.
Yeah. I heard you got lost in one of the tests, and I wanted to chat with you a little bit. I talked with Charles, Chuck, your mechanic, after the race, and he kind of told me once everything was cleared up how everything had went down. But from your perspective, what happened in the third test where you got lost, got back on the track a little early, talking to some course workers? How did that all kind of play out?
Yeah, basically, it was a weird deal. It was like 2 miles in, and I was catching the guys in front of me, the guy on road 20, and we popped out kind of on this Jeep road, but the trail kind of went right, but I guess the guy went the wrong way, and so I followed his dust and I passed him, and I was going down the road, like just a wide open Jeep road, and I didn't see any arrows, and I stopped and turned around, and as I was riding backwards, that guy was coming, and he pointed to his left, and the trail was right there. So I jumped in, and the next guy I got going, and the next guy I passed was like row 18 or something. So I knew something was up. So I was like too far in. I couldn't ride the track backwards. So I finished the test, and after the test, I told the officials that something got messed up back in the test, and it wasn't right. And basically, after the end of the day, me and the official, Alan, we went out and found out where I missed. Then what we did is he timed me the section that I missed, which it took I think right at 2 minutes. But he took into account that I still, from where I got lost to where I got back on the track, was like a little over a minute. So I guess he basically gave me a minute penalty.
Right.
But that's kind of how, I really didn't change the outcome on the whole thing, but it was just one of those things. I knew it wasn't right, and I just wanted to make sure, everybody was okay with the situation, and he seemed, all good with it and everything like that. But yeah, it was just kind of a weird deal where I seen that guy's dust and just kind of got off track and all that. But
Yeah, and it's good that you did that. I mean, I think take complete accountability for the fact that things got a little weird. You didn't really know what it was. You knew your time was going to be way better than others, in the sense of those couple minutes that you had missed there. So obviously, when people saw it, they're like, "All right, we're going to get this figured out." And I think it's good too that there was, that it got cleared up and that wasn't, a completely dropped test, because obviously that would have been really detrimental to the day. So I think it's a good way to handle it. I don't know if that's something they've had to deal with before, if that's like a rule book thing. They just wrote a new rule, but I think they handled it the right way. They got, because like you said.
I asked them about the rule book thing, and they really didn't seem Like, I mean, they really didn't seem too concerned with it, like breaking a rule or whatever. But just for me, that's not how I like to race, and I like being fair, and I don't want to be known as a cheater or anything like that because that's not how I like to ride
Yeah, no, for sure.
or race.
Um, so you said the A only section was gnarly, and I'm not going to disagree. I love the A only section there. I love that whole race. The Concho is one of my is my favorite Texas race. But I don't know. It felt extremely tamed down this year. I thought even last year, run backwards from the way it was this year, it was much tougher, much more tough. The downhills seemed to be a lot steeper, and the uphills seemed to be a little bit gnarlier. So tell me, you said you thought it was gnarly. That's fine. You're allowed to think. You could be more scared of a section
Well,
than
I
I
thought
am.
it was gnarly compared to the other tests.
All right. So yeah, give me your opinions on the A only section because there's a lot of people that don't get to ever see these A only type tests, and I think it's a good explanation of how awesome they are that we should give these people.
I thought it compared to the other tests, I did think it was a little more technical as far as like there was a lot more rock on the trail, and the one downhill was pretty tough. Not I shouldn't say tough, but you didn't want to go wide open down it because there was you could go off either side. There was like some pretty big drop offs, so you just had to almost be patient and just kind of do a fast trail ride through it is almost how I rode it, and I actually ended up crashing in it at one of the bottom of the hills in front of Shan, the photographer guy, like fell over right in front of him, but
And he didn't get a
uh,
picture of that.
I think he did. I don't know.
Oh,
He said he did. I haven't seen it, but it wasn't nothing too gnarly. But I like fell and just like landed perfectly on a rock on my hip and just like bruised it pretty good. I was probably going like 2 mile an hour or something. It was just something pretty stupid. But there was one hill climb I got to. There was three guys on it, and luckily I kind of zigzagged my way through and was able to get around all those guys on the hills. But other than that, it was a pretty uneventful test, just a little more rockier and a little more hills.
yeah. Well, you actually tied Nick Farringer for second with a 447 in there with a fall, and Andrew DeLong got the first with a 440. So for a fall right in front of Shan Moore, I still think tying for second's pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. But it was one of those crashes. I probably only lost a couple seconds. It just fell over. Bike was still running and got back going. It wasn't like I lost a whole bunch of time or anything like that.
When you go by Shan, do you hoot and holler at him, or are you too focused?
No, I see him at the last minute. I think I'm too focused, and I'll see the flash, and it doesn't catch me off guard, but I realize he's there, and he's always usually at the cool sections where it's really neat.
Right. Yeah. I always. I don't know why, but for some reason, I always. I know I don't ride nearly as focused as you guys do, and that's fine. That's why I'm a half-ass A open or A30 rider. You guys are professionals. But I always see Shan or anybody else that I see on the trail and I recognize them. I always like to give them a good hoot and holler and stuff, just because I think it's fun to, it's like, oh, I see you. Oh, I know you're there. The problem is
Yeah,
that Shan's always cleaning off his lens because I always just get passed by one of you guys. I mean, obviously you were 2 rows in front of me this race, so you never passed me. You were already way in front of me. But he's always cleaning his lens. I was like, Shan, I want a picture, damn it.
yeah, he got a few good pictures, but yeah, I every time he's got one, I'm always like focused, and I guess I always like realize it at the last minute or last second that he's there.
Yeah. So besides the A only section being gnarly, obviously a good time. You did pretty well in there, even though you fell in front of Shan. Which other test maybe stood out in your mind? Either enjoyed it, it was gnarly. What else you got for us?
I enjoyed the the last test was pretty fun. Once you got out of the hills and got into that real fast bottom, it had like a sandy bottom, and it was just real fast sweeping turns, and they ran you down like a creek gully or just a wide open creek bed. That was pretty fun. The last test was, I'd say I probably enjoyed that one the most. Then I liked the fifth one pretty well.
Yeah.
The last one, it was like 13 miles long.
It
And
didn't seem that long, did it? That long? It was like 12 and some change, but
yeah,
it had so much open.
yeah, it was just so fast, and it started off down in kind of the same, just real fast bottom, just nice flowing turns where you just pin it. Then it had a few little technical sections up in the hills, but I'd say the fifth and sixth were probably my two favorite.
Yeah. I thought the one thing, maybe the only reason why I think the A only section didn't seem super gnarly is because we had just come out of that 10 and a half, 10.4 mile A and B only section, which was like 10 miles of technical ass kickery.
Yeah,
And I think maybe that it felt like such an extension of that's why like the A only section didn't really seem to I guess get my skirts ruffled because they had already been pretty ruffled in the section before, unfortunately.
yeah, and it was only 5 miles long. It was pretty short too, so it was kind of seemed like it was over before it started
Yeah,
the short test.
yeah, for sure. Well, before we let you go and let you get too much into your evening, before you rest up to go get all healthy and sleep tight in your little Betty Bye for some training tomorrow. So the GNCCs, how have you felt about the series so far?
I think it's going well.
Okay.
Florida started off well, and Georgia was going well, and I I still don't know what happened the last lap. I just got in the second in my class. I still think I was third overall though, but passed all the Omaha guys and probably had about half lap to go and just kind of made some bad choices, I guess line choices, and got passed and just kind of fell apart. I guess
Right.
it was a pretty disappointing race for me. Took it pretty hard, but I did the best I could with the situations that I was in. So six wasn't what I wanted, but I guess overall I still was able to hold on to the points lead. But this weekend I think it's going to be another mutter in North Carolina.
Oh my gosh, really?
Well, we got some snow today. It didn't stick, but yeah, the track's like a half hour from my house, and they're calling for rain Friday and Saturday. So hopefully it's not too muddy.
Now, I don't know the answer to this, so I'm just going to ask it. Were you riding a 350 or 450 in Georgia when in all that mud?
450.
450. Now that you know that there's a chance it's going to be a chance of another mutter, would you ever consider switching to the 350 because of that, or do you think you would always just stick to the 450 for the GNCCs?
Just stick to the 450 for GNCCs.
Okay.
I actually did that last year. I switched to the 350 for 3 rounds and didn't ride it bad, but I think the 450 suits me better for GNCCs, and I'm just going to stick with it full time this year.
Okay. No, cool. It's interesting. I didn't even notice that Grant Baylor was on a 450 XC. And Shan had in his reports that he was on one. I was like, no way. So I texted him, hey, what's up? You're on a 450 XC. He's like, yep. I was like, what's up with that? And he said, I'm already getting ready for XC1 next year.
Yeah,
What is does that not? That's a kid with some determination right there, don't you think?
yeah. I think it's smart to get a year under his belt, just riding the 450, and obviously he rides it pretty well. He's a big sized boy, so I think the 450 suits him well, and he's definitely, I'd say he has the strength to ride it. So a year under his belt will definitely help him transition the next year in the XC1.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so Steel Creek, talking with Hoop last week, it sounded like you've done, you've done really well there in the past. Josh Strang's done really well there in the past. Um, Obviously, I really at this point hope it's not a mutter. I mean, I'll be on the sanctity of my couch watching the webcast, so I'm gonna be, I could kick back and have a good time watching you guys do whatever you do. But I'm hoping for a good race. Man, yeah, I don't want it to be muddy. When was the last time you raced Steel Creek and it was muddy?
Real bad muddy, 2010 when they cut it short. That was probably the worst year they had it. 2011, it was wet, but it was good. 12 was good, and last year was a little on the dry side. But you know, if it rains, hopefully the ATVs can get most of the mud off. And I think it's supposed to be nice Sunday, so hopefully the morning race can break it up or get all the mud off and make us a good racetrack for Sunday afternoon.
Right? Yeah, we'll see. Those crazy ATVs. Well, did you know that you won the Caselli Cup from the Dirt Bike Magazine guys?
Yeah, they called me. I want to say January or something, and Ron Lawson called me and uh, told me, and it's pretty cool. Real neat. Just pretty cool honor to get that award.
Yeah, and it's neat because and they mentioned this in their article, that they've obviously given out, top off-road racer awards in the past, like kind of like numerically numbered people and been like, hey, high five for being awesome. But this year, now that they've kind of, obviously with the passing of Kurt Caselli, that's kind of what they've named it, is now the Caselli Cup. So I think it's cool that you're not just the winner, but you're the first winner of what is now the Caselli Cup. So that's pretty neat. Is that something that you're going to be able to have and hold on to, like for 2014, or is it something maybe that like travels yearly, or is it just your name will go on it in their office or something?
I'm not sure. They gave me a cool trophy, and I put it in my trophy room. So,
You're
but
keeping it. That's mine now.
yeah, no, they made a pretty sweet one with my name on it and stuff. But I assume each year when they label the Rider of the Year, they get the trophy and stuff. But it's really cool to get the first one, and I'll keep that for as long as I keep my trophies.
Yeah. Well, if you ever get rid of it, can I call first dibs?
Sure,
All
but
right.
you ain't getting it.
Damn it. You never know. One day you could just, whoosh.
Yeah, I got it right next to my GNCC one, so it's ready to tie up there.
Right. Oh, I bet. Okay, so ISDE this year. Are you in for another trophy team adventure?
Yeah, I'm in, and I haven't signed the LOI, but verbally committed with Auntie and all that. So yeah,
And
I'm
you
in
just
for
verbally committed with seat time as well. You know that.
yeah.
So
So
we're a big deal.
if everything goes well, I know. Luckily this year it's at the end of our race season, so the enduros and GNCCs will be done. So that'll be a nice relief that we can just focus on that and not have to worry about getting back to our main series.
Yeah, trying to like, oh my gosh, I need to stay healthy for the last two races of whatever you'd be trying to finish at the time.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. That'll be cool. Well, awesome, man. Well, yeah, congratulations on kicking ass. I mean, you've got a heck of a points lead right now. You're 60 points. You're 21 points up on Jesse Grome, who's coming in there second for the National Enduro right now, going into Tennessee in 2 weeks. You've got a lot more racing still going on, though. You've got like 3 more weeks of racing, and then you get a break for Easter. So
Yeah.
I guess keep your head down or keep your head up, whichever one helps best and keeps your neck from getting sore. And keep the throttle pinned, though, right? That'll probably help the most.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me on, and it was good chatting with you.
Yeah, no worries, man. Well, I'm glad the baby's down. Everything's going smooth. Just keep high-fiving the kid and making him be an awesome little dude, all right?
All right, sounds good. Good talking to you.
Yeah, man. Take it easy. We'll talk soon.
All right, we'll see you.
Later. Awesome. It's always fun to have Mr. Charlie Mullins on. He was flying this past weekend. We were at the race. We did get to watch him leave a couple times. I was on row 23 with Stuart Baylor Jr., so he would leave 2 minutes before us when row 21 would leave. And him and Tony Joyner, dude, just on it. It was awesome to watch those guys do that. So love having the dude on. Of course, we're going to transition now into what will be the Fly Racing Pintful of Awesome Awards segment. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll actually come up with something, but for right now, that was it. No. So obviously a huge supporter of Seat Time is our good friends over at Fly Racing. Obviously, we like to talk about a little bit of the product that they've got going on, and they are releasing their Ripa Convert jersey and the Warpath shorts. Now, these are mountain bike specific. These are not dirt biking apparel. These are specifically for mountain biking. But what's neat about this is, I don't know, there's people out there, you try to get a little personal. You're like, oh, do I go full sleeve? Do I go 3/4 sleeve? Well, it's neat, just like they do in the dirt bike pants, where they say, hey, do you want to have elastic? Do you not want to have elastic? How do you want this to work? they offer that same availability in the jersey now with for the convert. So with this, you have the ability to cut it at a 3/4 length sleeve or at the full length sleeve, and with that, it's much more comfort that you can have whichever way you want to be. I think it's cool because you can have the 3/4 sleeve and then you can show off your full sleeve if you have tattoos. I guess I don't know. However that works for people with tattoos in the sleeves, or I guess sleeves because I have tattoos. A little bit about the jersey, though. Obviously, the convertible 3/4 sleeves, high-quality mesh panels in the upper back, just like the Kinetic mesh, if you guys were talking about from the spring release last year. Helps improve airflow and exhaust where you sweat the most. It's performance fit tailored to the needs of cycling. It's got a drop tail for coverage and raglan sleeve cut for comfort while riding. That's those three-quarter sleeves if you're into that sort of thing these days. So obviously, big supporters of Seat Time is our good friends over at Fly Racing. Go check them out at flyracing.com. And it is time to announce this week's Pintful of Awesome Award winner. Of course, as always, I like to call out a couple honorable mentions because there are never just one awesome picture. There are tons and tons of awesome pictures. And with that, I have to say there are quite a few honorable mentions. This weekend, I had Moto Photo Chick 29. She's the wife of one of the Rippas that we had on a couple weeks ago. 6 shots of all the Rippas up there in the Northeast, the J-Day guys. I just wanted to say thanks for tagging all those pictures. Those dudes are going. They're really good pictures. And I'm liking all the badassery. Dan Bromley, 54. Dude, way to jack up your finger. It was super bloody, disgusting. It looked like a burnt hot dog out of a fire. Very appreciative for that for sure. Benny G, Corona Life. I like that. There's a picture of just a bam. It was like Corona in front of a window. It was very artistic and tabbed. So damn Skippy on that one. Really enjoyed it. So honorable mentions. Thanks, guys, for tagging it. And our winner is RJ Stone at rstone712 is the Instagram handle, username, handle, however you want to go with that. Why did I pick this picture? I picked this picture because multiple facets. One, I liked the way it was composed. I liked the Red Bull arch with the guys there right in the center. Dual slalom racing. That is what sold me on this picture. It took me back to all the days of racing mountain bikes, going to downhill nationals, going to race dual slalom in California and West Virginia, stuff like that. Super, just brought back a lot of awesome memories, and especially upsetting that dual slalom is so dead in the way that it has. Trying to go to mountain cross, and then from mountain cross to nothing, back to dual slalom, back to nothing. And so I just wanted to say, keep racing dual slalom, keep being awesome. Thank you, rstone712, RJ Stone, for tagging us, Pintful of Awesome, in your picture. Please message us on Facebook. I'll, of course, reach out to you. But in case you're listening, please reach out to us on Facebook and message us, and we will get you hooked up. So thank you to everybody so far that has tagged your pictures. Keep tagging your pictures because we will keep this going. As long as Fly Racing wants to give away free stuff, we're going to keep using the hashtag to do it. So that's how you do it. Just keep tagging all your posts, hashtag Pintful of Awesome, and bam, bam, bam. I pick something awesome, and we give away Fly Racing swag. And in this case, mountain bike stuff. So who knows what it's going to be next week? I don't. I get a call, and we like, hey, what's next? I don't know. And we talk about it. So we have our next guest is Mr. Shane Hufford Jr. I believe he is on the line. Mr. Shane, are you there?
Yep.
Awesome. We can hear you fine. We can't see you, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and scoot around on the internet for a picture of you and get you up there. But if for some reason you see a section that says video with a big X / through it, turn it on so that way we can see your video. And if it comes through, we'll make sure it works. But right now we can hear you fine. So you just keep answering all these fun questions, and we'll keep the fun going. Sound good?
Yeah, look at that. I think I got it.
Uh-oh. Woo! Look at that. Technology, folks. We're figuring it out. Today's the day. Today's the day. Are you using your phone?
I'm on a tablet, my buddy's tablet.
That's okay.
Hufford family, not that advanced yet.
Hey, we're getting there. KR4, buddy. Arrive and ride and arrive and technologize. Technologize? I don't know. We'll get there. We'll figure it out. But, one, congratulations on your best National Enduro finish, and thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so you've been driving a lot from Texas. Did you just get home today?
Yeah, about probably 4 hours ago.
Oh, man. And so where is home for you as of right now?
Tiny Brook, Pennsylvania. It's like kind of southeast Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Is that what the kids call PA?
Yeah, PA.
PA? All right. No. Hey, man, I'm from Texas. I just got to make sure I'm getting things straight. We live in a bubble.
Texas. You don't have that Texas ego, do you?
No. I don't have any. No, I don't think. Do I have it, Steven? Do I have an ego?
I've never heard of a Texas ego, so I don't know.
Texas ego. Well, he's
Texas born, man.
Yeah. There might be. I think what I would say is that Texans are prideful.
Maybe that's what I meant.
No, and that's fine. And in that pride, I can absolutely see some people seeing a lot of ego. Because yes, Texans can be a little interesting. I'm not gonna lie.
What's bigger in Texas? I didn't see anything bigger.
Dude, Texas is just big. We're just like, bam. I don't know. Everything's bigger in Texas. Is that the slogan? Bigger, better in I don't know. I don't know. I'd say the racing was better in Texas, wouldn't you, Mr. Hufford?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's unlike anything I ever rode before.
Yes,
awesome.
And that is not just your great performance, but that's one of the things that I wanted to hear from you, because coming from PA, from Pennsylvania, that is a northeast region. You hear a lot about the rocky terrain, the tight woods, that kinds of stuff. Now, obviously, we didn't have too many tight woods this past weekend, but we did have a lot of rocks. So for viewers that might, relate well to you being from Pennsylvania or from the Northeast and know those kind of terrains, kind of explain in your own words what you thought of, the Concho Enduro this past weekend.
It wasn't really similar to PA rock. We do have a spot here in PA. It's in Pottsville, kind of old coal mines and stuff, and a lot of shale rock, and it was kind of similar to that actually. Real slick, hard packed, and kind of had soot and some shale rock on top. So it made it really, it made it different from anything I ever saw before.
Yeah. So your test looked really good. If you were to just say, oh, look at the numbers, like your placement, obviously you got 4th, 3rd, 6th, 5th, 5th, and 4th. So you didn't really, at no point was there a dramatic drop off. And even then, so you had a good bit of a gain there at the end, which is fantastic to see. Sometimes riders get tired and kind of start to drop off and wean a little bit, which you did not. You came right back up there in the 4th place, which is where you finished overall for the day. So, what did you think of the tests? Did you think that they were long enough? Did you think they were fast enough? Were they tough enough?
Well, they were definitely long enough. It just, I think Texas, is so open and fast. It didn't feel like, the normal 10-mile tight South Carolina test that kind of, it went by quick. And far as tough enough, there was definitely probably 1 or 2 tests that were, real tough, kind of more technical than anything. Everyone thinks of Texas being wide open. It was, it was nothing close to that in a couple of tests.
Yeah. Yep. We were just talking with Mr. Mullins, and he was calling the A only section. He called it gnarly, and I was like, yes, I would definitely call it gnarly. Even though, here's my take on it. I kind of was thinking that this was the easiest that A only section has ever been, but I think now that him and I had kind of chatted about it, I think I feel that way because that A-B section, which was test 3 beforehand, was so technical. It was 10.8 miles of nasty technical terrain, and then it just kind of bled over into this A only, which really wasn't that much more difficult. So what did you think of that A-B section that was right before the A only split?
I honestly thought the A-B section should have been the A section only.
Bam. Yeah.
Guys piled on both sides of the trail. You kind of just shoot yourself up into the middle of them, and hope you make it. It was gnarly.
Yeah,
Charlie's right.
Yeah, it's funny. There was I got tagged in Instagram today, so there was I don't remember. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the gentleman that had the video, but Zach Huberty from Innovation Off Road tagged me in this guy's video footage of him catching me on an uphill climb in that A-B section, and I'm just like, dog paddling, both feet down this uphill rock section, trying to make it. It was pathetic. By no means was I doing a good job, but I made it to the top, and I think, and I think I weaved just enough right in front of him that he didn't pass me, at least in that section. Now he could have caught me, and I might have let him go later, but still, it was. I think I looked well and pathetic in that little section that I got tagged in.
Yeah.
Did you have any issues that we may not know about on Sunday's race? Just anything?
Honestly, no,
Everything went pretty good?
not at all. Yeah, I didn't fall once all day. I don't know if that means you're not riding hard enough or you're not trying, but I didn't fall once all day. I just kept it up, and I didn't get lost. It was pretty clean day. It's perfect.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like Mullins had a couple small bobbles here and there. He fell right in front of Shan in the A only section, which is awesome. We're gonna have to see if Shan has that picture, which would be fantastic.
Sure.
Talking with Grant, he says the same thing, that he did not fall all day, rode really smoothly, consistent, and that kind of shows. With that very dry, dusty terrain, with that crazy rocky, shaly rock on top, is that how you have to attack it? You have to attack it more mentally than you do physically?
Yeah, I think so. I was definitely trying to be more careful. If you fall out there, you could end a lot more than just a day.
Yeah, there's quite a few cliffs that would suck.
Yeah.
Well, so you've been picking up your pace, I think is a good way to say it. I noticed last year, at the end of last year in the GNCCs, you had a couple podiums earlier in 2013 in the XC2 class, or top 5 finishes.
Yeah.
And then you had a couple podiums and a couple good top 5 finishes at the end of last year. So it looked like you were kind of starting to pick it up. It's like, okay, cool. Well, how's this 2014 going to look? And I would say so far your 2014 is looking quite awesome, because you've got a podium in the XC2, you've got another top 5, and now you've done your best in the National Enduro Series, which is a top 4. But how are you feeling about the way things are progressing for you in your career?
I mean, I feel good. Kind of this winter, it was, I didn't have a ride, so I was kind of, him hauling around. I didn't exactly, stay with riding all year. And up here in BA, everything's frozen. We had the worst winter, here in a while. So I just really tried to come into this year, more mentally than anything, and try not to be a head case and just stick with it, and you give it my best. And if it's not enough, it's not enough. If it is, hopefully that leads somewhere else. You never know.
Right. So how did the KR4 Performance ride come along that you have? Tell us a little bit more about the program that you have with them and how all that kind of came about.
Well, it came about, real last minute. I had, I think, 2 weeks from the GNCC when we, kind of signed the deal. Fred Andrews, he's kind of taken over the program, and he came up to me, last minute, and he offered to me, and it was I couldn't believe it. It was a good deal, and I signed it and got aboard, and put my bike in the van and headed to Florida and started riding, and just trying to put it all together. We're kind of taking just step by step here.
Cool. By no means I'm not asking specifics, of course, but is it kind of a salary deal, or are you guys going off of pay for play kind of thing, or how is your deal with them kind of structured?
We're pretty much back home here. There's a local shop, Side Performance, and Evan Yarnell is kind of the operator of it, and he really helped me last year get to the podium. We put a lot of work in last year, getting the bike dialed up, and I come from an enduro standpoint. I was always kind of a tight technical rider, and I love the enduros. They're great, but as far as making a living or getting support, I needed to do something bigger, and that's kind of why we wanted to go to GNCCs. And he's kind of still with me this year. His name's a little smaller on the bike, but he's prepping all my bikes. We're still doing our same thing as last year, but really just KR4s. They're helping us out with gear, parts, and giving us a budget, and really tying all the pieces me and Evan couldn't do ourselves together.
And it looks like it's really been helping a lot.
Sure.
It's
a lot easier. I'm thankful for KR4. It's awesome.
Yeah. And now that you're now that you're associated with Carrefour and you're kind of helping them out and they're helping you out, how have you seen people, I guess, involved with their Arrive and Ride program? It seems like it's a fantastic program. We're looking forward to taking advantage of it in the future. But kind of having been right there on the sidelines, how's it been for you watching? Oh, we lost him. That's okay. While Steven gets him back up, obviously I'm going to go ahead and talk about another one of our fantastic sponsors, and we'll get that moving on. A good supporter of Seat Time is Fast Company. If you do not know who Fast Company is, you definitely want to go to their website and check them out. It's fastco.com. And with that, you might know of them as the guys who make the Flex Bars. You're like, Flex Bars? What are those? They're not just for old guys that ride. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you need a recluse because you're old. No, it's a product that helps you ride better. It's also you don't need to be injured or recovering from an injury to be able to use this product well. This is a product that can easily help you ride better, ride longer, and ride faster. And it's definitely something I think everybody should go and at least check out if you don't know anything about it. So you can go to fastco.com and learn more about the Flex Bars. I do use them on my bike. I've used them since my shoulder surgery, and I got them because of that. But then now that I ride with them all the time. I don't just ride with them when I'm injured or when I'm recovering. And as well, they're the makers of the Torx Spoke Wrench. I can't say that 3 times fast. I apologize. This is the best tool out there, opposed to trying to use your wrench as a tuning fork and figure out if all of your spokes are tensioned the same. You just use their tool. It's the easiest thing out there. It's so awesome. So definitely go to their website, check it out. And what's even better is if you're in Washington, Utah, you can go to their shop and ask them to go take you on a ride, and they'll do that because you can ride right out of their back door. It is phenomenal. Those dudes are awesome. We're so thankful that they're a supporter of Seat Time and that we've been able to go and meet them and hang out with them and kick it with them and have beers with them because they're cool dudes more than anything else. So big thanks to them for their support. All right, well, we got you back up and running. So GNCCs. Tell me about how much it sucks to race for 3 hours.
It's not that bad, but some of them like Georgia. I mean, that obviously sucked. It was, it doesn't just suck for you though; it sucks for everyone. So
right, yeah, that's true. Charlie was just saying the weather makes it look like Steel Creek this weekend could be another mud race.
Hey, let's not talk about that now.
You're like, don't bring that up. Oh my gosh.
My bike's still in pieces. Come on.
Is it? Is that the case right now?
Yeah, the past weekend I rode one of Carrefour's 300s. I didn't even ride my race bike.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's true. I bet you guys did not have much time to turn that whole thing around, did you?
Not at all.
Oh my gosh.
I actually just pulled suspension off the race bike and put it on this stock 300 and went out and rode it. So we were just really hoping for the best.
Oh, well, that's a good thing it worked out. What bike are you riding? Are you riding a 250 in the XC2 class?
Yep.
Okay.
250 XC.
Yeah, so the suspension then from a 250 to a 300, it's just a little bit extra power. You wouldn't need any kind of different valving or anything for that, would you?
No, not at all. It's,
okay.
The bike weighs the exact same. It's just 300 has a little bit more low end than a 250. 250 likes to rev. That's really the only difference I noticed from the 250 to 300.
Right. And so did you ride the 300 for any other reason than it was the bike that was available, or did you choose the 300 because you wanted a 300 for the Enduro?
It's what we had.
Hey.
We had to make it work, and sure enough, it worked out. So
absolutely, and that you have to do that sometimes. That's for sure. That was me. I was making that FE 350 Husky that I was on this past weekend. I made it work. I made it work good. I made it work to like a really shitty place in the A30 plus class.
Hey, finished, right?
Oh boy, sure did. I finished with a flat front tire. So that whole last test section, I was running with a flat front tire.
How can you run tubes? Come on.
Because it was a reps bike.
Oh.
Because it was not my machine. That's how. I've been running the new tubeless setup. The Generation 2 tubeless.
I'm not too familiar with that.
No, it's not bad. I don't want to give a total review yet because I honestly haven't had a chance to test it to the full extent that I would like to. But so far, I've had really good success with it. So if anybody's been thinking about it, I'd check it out because it's definitely a product worth looking into. It's cheaper than bibs and tire balls and things like that. Setup, it's a little interesting, but they've got good videos and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean it's all right. It's all right. Well, Shane Hufford, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us some backstory. You in the PA woods, man. Did you like grow up in a moonshine farm? Like we need to know more about you.
I mean, there's not. I've been riding for a long time. I kind of just been under the radar, I guess you could say. Not many people really know. You know, I guess everyone's saying I just popped up this year, but I raced. You know, I raced youth. I came up through. I raced GNCCs on 65s, 85s with the Baylor boys, and I kind of got to big bikes, and then my dad kind of didn't get sick of racing, but he took me to a lot of races. He spent a lot of his own money, and we don't really come from a wealthy family, so it's getting hard, and
right.
So I just started racing local series here, East Coast Enduro Association series. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Yep, I have, just because of Mr. Zach Hubert. He always talking to me about craziness.
Yeah, yep. So I raced that, and actually I met Mike through that series actually, and we hooked up, and he said, "Hey, why don't come try some enduros?" Mike Lafferty.
Yeah.
But he said, "Why, come try some enduros?" So I started, doing the national enduros. Just me, my mom, my dad, every now and then, kind of drive out the one, and I started doing pretty good and raced 250A, and then turned pro in the enduros and raced a year for that, and then I actually rode for Air Group Radiant Racing, the team that Farringer's on now.
Yep. Did
that for a year, and things, they were good, just didn't really work out, and I was looking for something else, so I went me and Evan. I met Evan through Mike, through ECA, just kind of brought us together, and he said, "Hey, if you want to race, and I'll build you a bike, get you there." He's helped me out with traveling and everything, and we did GNCCs last year, and kind of led us to the KR4 deal this year.
Cool. Well, yeah, we're definitely looking forward to getting to know a lot of the guys over there at KR4 a little bit better, taking advantage of their program. So what do you think about, have you seen and had a chance to interact with any of the people coming in and taking advantage of the Arrive and Ride program?
Not quite yet, but it's still new, and from what I've been seeing, it's I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
You pay your money, you show up, you ride. You don't got to worry about there's mechanics there to help you work on the bike, pit. You just, for the everyday guy, it's perfect in my eyes. I mean, if I didn't race, if I didn't race for professionally, or I think I'd be all about it.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to be able to get out there and do races on more of a national caliber level or national level that you wouldn't be able to make because of the fact of driving across country and bringing all your crap and all that kinds of stuff.
Yeah, for no 40, 50 hour a week guy, there's not time come home and wrench on the bike, and you don't want to spend your nights doing that. It makes it not fun.
I agree. I had to do it last night on the reps bike, and it sucked. I'm going to be fixing a flat tire after this episode.
Just give that back. Right?
Oh, I wish. Unfortunately, he's not just a rep; he's a friend. So I can't just totally wheel it on back and be like, "Thanks for letting me get it dirty." But we did have a question from the chat room, and they wanted to know what your favorite ECEA event was.
Favorite ECA? I don't know. A lot of guys are probably gonna hate me for this, but I'd say the last round every year. It's in mid-November. It's at Blue Diamond MX Park. And it's wide open, moto track. They run us through an amusement park. We're on the pavement. It's just all around. It's different. It's awesome.
Oh man, that does sound like a lot of fun. So is the ECEA, that's more of a cross country hare scramble kind of series?
Yeah.
Okay.
They also have the old style enduros too. It's kind of a big association.
Okay, and then you guys still have timekeepers up there, right?
Yeah, actually, I've never done one.
Never.
Never. I'm not saying anything bad about it.
Hey. Yeah. It's funny. So Zach Huberty actually rode with us back into the DFW area from Concho, and he was telling us about how there's still, they still have timekeepers up there, and all that kinds of stuff. And I said, well, you know what? I grew up doing timekeepers with my dad. I enjoyed doing timekeepers. I understand that there is some legacy to hold on to there. But I was like, the problem is that the sport was just dying. There was no growth in the sport. It was just the numbers were dwindling. And in the preservation and perseverance of trying to get the sport to carry on, they did make some changes. And we wound up with kind of this, sprint-esque National Enduro series that we have now. And I like it. I think it's a lot of fun. We still get really, really long tests. And when we can go out east, really out east, we can get some really, really tight stuff, which is nasty and gnarly. You're talking about like the 10 and 12 mile long sections there in South Carolina. Those will kick your ass. You don't need a clock or a 18 mile an hour test section to tell you that shit'll whoop your ass. So, and then we've got guys in the chat room that say timekeepers rock. So you can't make anybody happy, can you?
Not at all.
That's okay. We're here to just have a good time and goof off. So, if there was one thing that somebody would look at you and make an assumption on, what do you think that it would be?
One thing. I'm a little guy.
You're a little guy.
Little guy.
A little guy. Is that like muscularly? You're like a little guy, or like, oh, I just have a soft voice and don't talk very deep, or like.
I heard that before. When I come up on lappers and yelling at them, they tell me I yell like a girl. I mean,
hey, what's up, guys? Would you get out the way, please?
So I don't even yell anymore. I just rev the bike.
Yeah, you're like, bah, 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 bah. Oh my gosh. I had one guy get all kinds of upset with me. I think it was in that AB only section we were talking about right before the A only section. And it's wide enough. I mean, it's easily wide enough to where if he just got off of the beaten path, just a foot to his left or a foot to his right, I could have easily like scooted on by. So I'm kind of revving the bike and just like whoop whoop, like gently saying, "Hey, I'm behind you, get out of the way." And he just keeps going. I'm just like, pick a side. And like as I go by, he's like, I could hear just like he's like yelling at me and cursing and all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, I don't get it sometimes how people can't figure out that all they have to do is like they don't even have to move a full half a foot and they're over enough of the way to be out of the way for guys behind them, slow ones like myself even, to make a pass. So. What did you have any issues this past weekend getting around lappers or slower riders?
Too bad. I mean, the dust made it difficult, definitely. But actually, a quick story real quick. Back here.
Yeah, bring it.
You ready? I got a story for you. We back here in ECA series, it was like the last lap that came around, and my throttle started sticking on my bike. So I guess I got a piece of sand or something down in the carb, and throttle was just sticking wide open. And we came to this real tight section, and all these guys thought they were, they just thought I'll sit back there, hold my bike wide open. Everyone stop, getting off their bikes. They want to fight me. I'm like, take my hands off the bars. I'm like, I'm not doing anything.
You're like, guys, it's just my ego. I'm sorry, it's not me. Yeah. That's awesome. That's my Texas-sized ego, guys. Come on, watch out. Oh my gosh. So tell us a little bit more about the Northeast, though, about the racing that goes on up there and kind of what you've gone through to get where you've gotten. Have you, while you've made your way up the ranks, maybe into the A class and into like kind of the pro ranks and stuff like that, do you feel like you were always one of the faster guys, or do you feel like you really had to work for it? I guess, did it come natural?
It came natural a little bit, but I definitely, I put in a lot of time and a lot of weekends, and I've always rode with better people to kind of push myself. And back home here, I can't speak from experience, but I think our local series is pretty stacked and tough. We have Mike Lafferty back here. We have Grome. We have tough guys back here to beat, and that I think that makes you better.
Yeah. No, I would agree for sure. You could tell that's why I suck, because I've never beaten Cole Kirkpatrick. And whenever he shows up at a race, everybody's always like, well, it sucks. What's that?
pack her in.
Yeah. And I by no means have I ever been competitive enough to keep up with Cole Kirkpatrick, but we did actually have a local guy, Hayden Franklin, who's won the regional Texas, the TSEC series quite a few times. He had a really bad wreck this past weekend. I don't know. I saw like pictures of him getting like a chest tube put in and stuff. So yeah, I know. Did you hear anything else about any other injuries or anything? I think besides him, he was like the only serious injury I really heard of.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear too much. Yeah, I didn't see anything, or it was a pretty clean day for me.
Yeah, no, it's not hitting the ground is the way to do it for sure. So
Yeah,
would you go back?
What was that?
Would you go back?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you do good, you're gonna say you'll go back.
Right. Is this a unique enough event that we should try to see about keeping it on the schedule? Like, should it become, maybe kind of iconic? I don't get a chance to do the other series, the other national enduros unless they're in the South. So I don't know how much this one sticks out as different from a lot of the other ones. So I don't really know if I'm like, oh yeah, it should totally be there all the time. But I don't know if it's different enough, if it's eclectic enough. And, you've probably done a lot of the other races, so.
Yeah, I definitely, think it's different. There's nothing like that, It's, South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, back here, it's all pretty similar, And you go to Texas and, there's nothing like it.
Right. What about heading further west? Now, obviously, we're going to be going to Colorado later this year. We have been to Wyoming in the past. It's been a very, very long time, though. And then, a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you come to California? Now, that's a lot of traveling to come all the way across the nation. But you're on a program like the Arrive and Ride. You guys are going to be able to make the logistics work out for that and probably figure it out for other people. Do you see... How would you feel maybe about the series heading even further west than we are going to this year?
I mean, it makes it harder for, I think, a lot of people. It it definitely keeps it a national series. I think that's really good. But as far as traveling, I mean, I think it's really going to make it tough.
Yeah. Now, and that was another conversation we had on the way back in the car. It's like, man, you're right. I would love it to be a full national series. Like a full-on national enduro series. But, man, it is just such a beating. And that's why, you have kind of like the Hare and Hounds are, the cross-country hare scrambles of the West. And then the cross-countries and hare scrambles of the East are the Hare and the Hare and Hounds of the East. Like, they don't mix well in the sense just because the guys in the West can't make it to the East and vice versa. That's why I wish that Big Sky was happening again, so we could have that full-on national off-road champion claimed from the West to the East to Central all together. So that would be really cool.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. All right. Well, good luck this coming weekend for Steel Creek. We're going to see you at Big Buck for sure, which we're looking forward to in about 2.5 weeks. That'll be a fun time. You never know. We might even wind up crashing on your floor. It's going to be interesting. We don't really know yet where we're staying, but I figure Steven's really attractive, and I'm barely good looking, so we could probably make something work.
No problem.
Oh, it might get weird.
No.
Nah, that's okay. It might get weird, but, we're all going to be able to still look at each other on Sunday and feel good about ourselves. I'm having too much fun over here. All right. Well, seriously, congratulations on doing so well at this National Enduro this past weekend. I hope that it keeps up, that that you keep kicking ass, and that you get on the top step of the XC2 class and maybe even a National Enduro in the near future. What do you think?
I hope for sure. I'm giving my all, and hopefully it works out.
Awesome, dude. Well, who else been helping you out? Give us a round of your shout-outs, my friend. That'll be good for everybody, I think.
I had to make a list. There's so many people. That's
all right. I still ask my wife what her middle name is sometimes. So, hey, we all need help.
I do the same thing to my girlfriend. For sure, KR4. They're KR4, far off-road, solid performance, Evan at solid. Wrenching on all the bikes, keeping stuff together. KTM, Maxxis Tires, Fly Racing, Asterisk Braces, Silk Lean, Pro Circuit. Used to be Hydration, Arai Helmets, Sunstar Sprockets, BKS brand, DT1 filters, DP brakes, Enduro engineering, and Stickman graphics.
Nice.
That was a lot, wasn't it?
Hey, man, that's okay. The people that are helping you are the people that making your dream come alive right now. So it's very important to do that, as I think. So.
I think the most important people are just the family, and the whole Andrews family. They pretty much housed me when I was down in Florida and fed me, and that was awesome.
I bet, dude. I bet. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, if you come back to Texas, we'll try to help out as much as we can too. And by that point, all of my kids are going to be old enough, so they might be able to babysit or do some other stuff. I don't know. My kids are crazy, so it's insane. You can only imagine. I am as interesting as I am, and my kids are probably going to be 3 times as worse. So I apologize to the world now. Well, good luck, dude. Get some sleep. I know you've been on the road. Get your bike fixed. Get ready for Steel Creek, and you have fun out there. We'll see you in 2.5 weeks. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
All right, dude. Well, you take it easy. Thanks for being on the show tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Later. All right. So as we switch to our third guest, Mr. Jubal Brown, hopefully he actually is most likely either finishing his drive to Idaho or having had just finished his drive from Texas all the way to Idaho. This dude's a pretty cool dude. It'd be fun to talk to him. While we get switched over, I do want to say thank you very much to one of our good friends and supporters of Seat Time, Alan Stillwell, and the guys over at Stillwell Performance. If you guys don't know, they are the suspension of choice for guys like Cody Webb, Corey Griffunder, Kyle Redmond, and Luis Forsley. You can head to their website, you can call them at the shop, and ask how they can make your off-road experience that much better. You definitely want to tell them that the guys over at Seat Time, myself, Woody B. Pierce, Brian Pierce, if you want to be more professional about it, said that we told you to head on over, and yes, there will be some special treatment involved. It's a lot of fun with those guys to be able to get on the phone with Alan, talk to him about your riding style, tell him what you're looking for in your suspension setup and how you want your bike to perform, and then he goes through all of his questions with you. Then you get your suspension back, you get all the feedback. You could text him, you could call him. It's so easy to make adjustments with those guys. So definitely check them out. StillwellPerformance.com. Tell them that Seat Time sent you, and they will help and hook you up and make it a good time. Thank you for your support. So, Mr. Jubal Brown, you look very professional, my kind sir, my good friend. Uh-oh! No audio! Oh no! So close to being the best setup ever. Oh no! I bet you it's the same thing as Strang from last week. Oh wait, I heard something.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes! That was it.
All right. You told me to use these headphones and then it didn't work out.
Stupid headphones. Don't listen to me. What do I know?
Hey, I don't know what you know. You know how to have some rocking hair, that's about it.
After that, I just duct tape it to my face.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, so Mr. Jubal Brown, you and I, unfortunately, it's been a while. We didn't get a chance to chat this past weekend. We have chatted at other races in the past, but tell us, did you really just get home from your drive from Texas?
Okay, so I literally got home about 2 minutes before the show started and ran in the house and got cleaned up a little bit. And then jumped on my computer and caught Charlie's interview and Shane's and everything else. So I've been standing by.
Oh my gosh! Well, we are very much appreciative. You are one of those gentlemen that I like to catch up with what's going on. I like reading your little posts and things like that you put up on Verb and on the internet on Facebook. And so I knew that you would have a lot of good insight, not just to this past weekend, but everything else that's been going on, because I know you've been kind of traveling the East Coast, doing some of the GNCCs, doing a lot of the other stuff going on there. So that was one of my big perks for this. Is I get a chance to talk with Mr. Jubal Brown and all the shenanigans and things that are going on. So just overall synopsis, what did you think about the Concho Enduro?
Well, Concho Enduro was awesome. It was kind of a continuation. That was like week 5 of my trip. I think in the last maybe 6 weeks, I've slept in my own bed maybe 4 or 5 nights.
Nice.
And, the Concho was actually probably the most familiar to me. I mean, I've never raced it before, but I'd say it's closer to the riding that I'm used to in Idaho than like the Sandlapper was or the Alligator. So, it's funny listening to to Shane talk about it. He's all like, man, I've never seen anything like that before. And I'm like, are you kidding? This is like more like home to me. So,
that's interesting that you say that it's something like what you've ridden a lot before. Now do you live in Bellevue, Idaho still? Is that kind of hometown?
yes, sir. Born and raised.
Okay, now the closest I've been to that was Idaho City in 2012 for the qualifier.
Right.
That was awesome. That was, 220 miles in 2 days, and that was bitchin' terrain. But so how much different is where you live from there at Idaho City?
Well, if you look at Idaho City, like I would say that people from out of town, they look at Idaho City and they're like, man, those are the best trail. This is God's country. I can't
Right.
believe you have trails like that. They're so nice and practically prepped. And I always laugh. I'm like, are you kidding? That's like the whooped out freeway. Like our stuff up by Sun Valley. It's ridiculous. I think it was Moto. I lost track of my motos. Maybe Moto 3 or Moto 4 when Shane Waltz is up there in the Idaho Mountains, just tearing it up with his dad. And, that's my hometown, man. I know exactly where those trails are. So, anytime, Shane, you want to come up and roll, just hit me up, be happy to take you out in the Idaho Mountains again.
Awesome. So what we rode in Idaho City is whooped out trails. Yep, I would have said that was God's country as well. And now I feel like I'm missing out on much more badassery.
Hey, if you want to come up early or late, just hit me up and we'll go for a ride.
Oh, I was just about to say how much I do not want to ever make that drive again. Ever. I don't know how you do it, man. Do you just have like a mental thing that you like turn off and on to be able to just sit in that car and go?
Yeah, I've just been in the car for like 45 hours in the last, 4 days. It was no big deal.
Oh my gosh, yeah, dude, I would. And you're sitting down right now doing seat time. You're an animal. You must never get monkey butt.
I was worried I was gonna have to pull over and go to like a Denny's or something, and like set up my little tablet and have a burger with you.
Well, it's funny because Starbucks is, for whatever reason, has been like the stop of choice. Quite a few times, Jared Bolton, he's been coming back from GNCCs. He'll stop at a Starbucks and come on the show. We've had Corey Graffunder. He's done the same thing. Kyle Redmond. We've had quite a few guys just kind of spill over, and they're always texting me like, oh, gosh, what place has Wi-Fi? I was like, maybe a Starbucks? And they always seem to find one. So it's happened. It wouldn't be the first time. Jared even got kicked out of a Starbucks one time, didn't he?
Yeah, they closed.
Yeah, they wanted. That's right. They wanted to close, and he was like, "But I'm still on the show." They're like, "Get out." Oh well.
Nice.
So he sat in his car and stole Wi-Fi while they actually closed the shop. So the Wi-Fi never really turned off. So he's smarter than he looks. So I noticed you have your KR4 shirt on. So is there? I would assume that there is some affiliation there as well.
There is.
Okay, well, how's that work? Because I know I've seen you driving your butt all over the place.
Well, it's kind of an interesting relationship, and it really started with Ian Blythe, to be honest. Ian Blythe out of Colorado.
Yep.
He just out of the blue hit me up like last October and said, hey, how would you like to drive me to the last National Enduro in Oklahoma and then go to the last GNCC at the Ironman in Indiana? And I was like, okay.
I love driving.
I love driving. I haven't driven anywhere since yesterday, so let's go. So, we packed everything in my little red van and rolled down there. And the week we did the Oklahoma City race, and it was killer. And then we had a week to kill in between. So Ian's like, hey, we're going to go to this guy's in Pennsylvania. His name is Frank Keegan. He's helping me out a little bit this year. And I'm just like, okay, that sounds good. Just as long as I don't have to sleep in the van, that sounds good. And it just kind of started there. I met Frank and Chrissy and the whole family, and was really kind of shocked with what was going on. Like, I had no idea. I'd never even heard of KR4. And I guess out in the West, news travels slow of what was going on.
Still using smoke signals.
That's right. So, the telegraph lines must have been cut. And we just kind of, got to talking, and he told me what he had going on with KR4. And I had been working at Cherby's, the plastic company, for a couple of years, and left them last spring to go racing full time. And And so I was like, hey, I can do some of your marketing if you need any sort of marketing deal. So we just kind of struck up a little partnership there. So I'm helping with their marketing and advertising and doing their newsletters and press releases and basically anything that needs done.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's a great way to get help on all fronts, because it's probably good for you to either be able to make a little bit of money, or at least be able to get services and help in the industry, obviously, that you're in, because you're racing and moving around on the bike, and then as well for them because they probably need help, with extra hands trying to get out some of that marketing and stuff like that. And you obviously know a lot of people, so that probably partnership worked out quite well at the right time for you guys, I bet.
Well, it did, and I think it was also like the kind of the last little push I needed to do the National Enduros. I always wanted to do the National Enduros. Basically, growing up riding, I didn't start riding until I was 14. I was a freshman in high school, and my buddy rode, and he handed me a copy of, I think it was like Dirt Bike or Dirt Rider, and there's all the National Enduros and everything in there, and I'm like, no way, that's killer. And I'd always wanted to do it, and I mean, the Concho was the second closest race to the house, and it's 24 hours away one way, and so Frank and KR4, they're like, hey, you should do them, and I was like, hey, sounds good.
You got it. Done.
You got
it. Somebody was asking in the chat room two things. They said, make sure I ask you if you're going to Odessa in 2 weeks, and then they were asking if you still have any. Didn't you used to push TMs?
Okay.
So we could break that up into two thoughts or one thought.
Chat. Oh, okay. Well, you'll have to forgive my ignorance. I don't know anything about Odessa. Are they talking the Desert 100? I wonder if that's it. Odessa, Washington?
Maybe.
I'm gonna go with probably.
I could spell it. That's about all I know after the fact.
I'm going to.
We'll start with TM. Maybe they'll chime in.
Okay,
afterwards.
So TM. I rode those bikes the last 3 years. TM Racing out of Italy, and man, some of the cool stuff. The coolest bike you'll ever see. It's basically a two-wheeled light blue Ferrari, and everything's handmade, everything's hand welded. And it was another thing. I saw those in the magazine and was like, wow, that's cool. And so I got involved with the importer in 2011, and basically said, I want a bike, I want to try it out. I was so impressed with it. After like a month, I called and I said, I want to be a dealer. What do I need to do? And he's like, okay, here you go. And so 3 years later, I sold about 16 bikes. And that was while I was working full time at a Chirby's. So I never really pushed the brand too hard. I just kind of rode them and repped them and tried to sell them to all my buddies.
Right.
And so yeah, great bikes. Was really happy with them. And then for 2014, the decision was made by the importer that they weren't going to bring a container of bikes into the U.S. So they were still available by special order. But I was just kind of at the point. I'm like, okay, let's take a little break. I'm really hoping they come back strong in 15 or 16, and I've got some bikes to sell again. But I decided to go with some Hondas. So I've got a CRF 250R, CRF 450R, and just enjoying the twin pipe design.
Right? Yeah, for sure. I got to ride one of the new Huskies this past weekend, the FE 350, and really, really enjoyed that. I've been a two-stroke guy for, I don't know, the past 5 years, being on a 250 XE and then a 300 XE. But, man, I really, really, really enjoyed that 350 motor this past weekend. Really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah. What was it, just the electric start?
No, well, it was the lack of Kickstarter altogether that was the weight savings, because it didn't have a Kickstarter. That was really what did it for me. So
nice.
I don't know.
Saving that weight.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I don't know. Definitely don't want this show to be a review about that bike, because I definitely have my opinions, and they're being formulated on paper as we do the show for later. But yeah, no. I really enjoyed the bike. I definitely think that the Huskies are going to change a lot in the future. They have not changed much from what was a Husaberg last year. The valving on the front fork was left room for better valving, but that engine and that motor was awesome. I am coining it the Supple Leopard. It was awesome. Awesome. It took a little bit to learn how to ride the motorcycle, like because of the fact that the engine was so smooth. Like, I mean, I know that sounds weird, but like coming off of two strokes and being used to having that kind of the power band and being able to expect, the jumps and the attack, there was not that. That just was. It just didn't exist. So it was interesting, and it was a ton of fun to ride, and it really, really, really made me think that I might want to get a four-stroke again. Damn it!
Nice.
I said it.
I
said it.
I would love an opportunity to try one of the Huskies. There's actually a real good chance I was going to be on them for this year. I was riding a red and white Husky for the Husky shop in Boise, Big Twin Cycles, and they called me out of the blue in September, and they said, "Hey, are you going to do Endurocross?" And I'm like, "No, probably not." Because that's like the one local race besides Idaho City. It's the Boise Endurocross, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go beat up my own stuff. And they said, "Well, how about you beat up one of ours?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so they gave me a shiny new red TC250R and just let me have my way with it for a couple months. And oh man, I mean that's what I raced at that National Enduro, and I took to the Ironman and then raced Endurocross on it, and it was awesome. And it looked like I was had everything set up with Big Twin to ride the new Huskies. I mean the guys over there were just awesome, but unfortunately the new bikes were kind of late.
Yep.
And I sat idly. They let me keep my red and white bike and ride it, which was super cool of them. But I was just getting antsy, because they said, yeah, we should know by October, and then November, and then December, and then January, and finally by January, I'm like, hey guys, I'm sorry, I got to go get some new motorcycle, and so we got the Hondas, but definitely a cool looking bike. I think the Huskies, definitely going to be around to stay. And I'm really hoping that they'll kind of separate, diverge the brand from Husaberg and KTM a little more.
Yeah, and I think that that's all in the works. It's one of those situations where that it happened really quick. It was like, oh my God, the Husky brand's up for sale. Buy it. Okay, now that we have it, what do we do with it? Okay, kill Husaberg. That's now Husky, and then we'll slowly start to create the new Husky. Like it was so, but it's going to be there. I agree. We've talked about it multiple times on the show that 2016 is probably when we're going to see the first new real Husky. Like in the sense of there may still be ties to KTM in the sense that it just makes sense because of the to share certain aspects for manufacturing costs and all that kinds of stuff. But where we'll really start to see them diverge themselves and become a different brand totally. I've even heard that there's a new logo in the works. Have you heard anything about that?
Man, I haven't heard anything about a new logo, but I think if they
that would
ditch
be
the gun
crazy.
sight,
You think they should?
No.
Okay,
Heck
good,
no.
good. I was like, oh. I know the gun sight is so awesome. It's so just the brand. I mean, it's like it's where they started.
I think if they lost the gun sight, I think Malcolm Smith might depart this world early.
It's funny, but I think you're right. Like, yeah, for sure. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's a revamp and stuff like that. But I remember if I was reading a magazine or talking to somebody, and that was just like something that slipped, and I was like, "What? Nothing." I was like, "Oh, okay, I heard it." So
that would be worse than when Pepsi changed their logo. I'm just saying. I still haven't got over that. That's like been 15 years ago.
It would have been like when the Gap changed theirs, and everybody on the social media was like, "That is the stupidest logo ever," and then they changed it back like within a day. I think it would probably be about the same thing.
Okay, well, you and I will lead the picketers to change it back.
I agree. I'm in. So what? tell us about your experiences with the GNCCs this year. I mean, obviously they've been mudfests and stuff like that, but from being a guy from the West Coast, have you had fun being able to travel around and do all those races and be at all these events and kind of just be in the scene?
Well, I've definitely, that's definitely been probably the coolest thing about what I'm doing this year is just kind of getting to go live the dream. I'm definitely like Shane Hufford and Charlie Mullins and all those guys. I mean, they beat me so bad at every race, and it's fine because I still get to go to the next one, and it's no sweat off my back really. And so I'm kind of getting to have my cake and eat it too. I'm living the dream, and I'm able to pay the bills, and it's all about fun, more so than results. So like the results are just something that I get to keep for me, and I just try to positively represent the companies that are helping me out, and just kind of get out there and share my experiences with whoever wants to listen.
Yeah, and in this case, it's seat time.
Thanks, guys.
We are in. I do have to say congratulations because you made it into the top 50 this past weekend. You were 47th overall.
I was stoked, man. I mean, that's probably I'm a little bit more like a kid in a candy store with this whole National Enduro thing, because to go and to see the factory KTM rig, and there's Charlie Mullins, and there's Stu Baylor, and there's Mike Lafferty, and then Andrew DeLong on the Husky, and all the guys, that were in the magazines. I'm still, I'm almost 30, and I'm still like, oh, no way, look. And I'm older than a lot of those guys too, except Mike. Mike Lafferty is still older than me, so thanks, Mike.
Yep.
But it's cool. It's one of those things that the talent at the National Enduros it's just huge. I did a 2-day TSEC RMEC race in Texas like a month ago.
Yep.
And I won the Open A class one day and got like a 10th overall. And then fast forward a month and I rode even better, but the real guys showed up. But I was definitely happy with the finish. I mean, it was a huge improvement for me over the Sandlapper. The Sandlapper, I was barely in the top 100. I think it was 89th or something. But, I'd say, like I said, this Texas race is more similar to what we have at home.
Right.
I mean, it's if you rode Texas and you've ridden Idaho City, and if you think about it, those two races seem pretty different. But I would say Texas is closer to Idaho City than it is to the Sandlapper or than it is to Pennsylvania.
Yes, because in Texas we will not get super tight pine trees. Just not happening.
Right.
You could find some pine trees in East Texas, in Nacogdoches, but yeah, the majority of Texas is going to be, much different than what you would find on the East Coast, for sure.
Well, I'll give you a little insight. I think I was maybe one of the 600. There was 600 riders at the Sandlapper, and I think I was the only one with moto-style handguards. I did not have bark busters for the Sandlapper. And so I figured out why everyone rides the bark busters back east. So come round 3 in Tennessee, I'll be running some sweet Achobe's wraparounds.
Right. Now, I grew up in Louisiana in the Sarah circuit, and we did that they had the National Enduro down there a couple times, the Cajun Classic, and they have some tight ass pine trees down there, and we used to cut our handlebars down because of the fact that it was so tight. Do you know that anybody that still does that? I don't. I actually leave them stock and add the bark busters. So are you gonna cut them? You're gonna leave them? Have you heard anybody talking about that these days?
So the first year I did the ISDE qualifiers, I went to Ohio. Everyone was saying how tight it was, and so I did get the hacksaw out and I cut my stock TM bars down a lot. And then it turned out that Ohio qualifier wasn't very tight.
It was just tight for those guys, and you're like, that's nothing.
Yeah. So this year, Fast Company stepped up and hooked me up with the flex bars, and I'm running the 12-degree Woods Bend, which is a lot narrower than the Moto.
Yep.
And so I've just left them alone, and I did not crunch one finger at the Sandlapper. So it was. I tore the ends of the grips off, but that was about it. I had my hands in like this.
That's awesome. You know that Fast Company is a sponsor of the show, right?
I heard that. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing good work. I mean, they're helping you out. They're helping me out, and like you were saying earlier, I mean, you don't have to have an injury to run them. They're awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really cool too, dudes too. Have you had a chance to ride with them in their property around Washington, Utah?
I haven't. I was supposed to make it down to the Friends of Fast ride before the Vegas Endurocross final last year.
Yeah.
And practicing the week before, I decided to leave some of my toes on a rock. And
Whoops.
yeah, oops. So I got to stay home and sit on the couch with my foot on ice and watch the webcast, on my computer. But supposed to go, haven't made it. It's my understanding that the invitation is still open, and can't wait to take those guys up.
Well, good. Next time it happens, make sure you go, because we did get to go this past year, and it was phenomenal. We got to watch guys like Mike Brown and Toby Price and all those dudes just totally kick butt on those wicked sand rocks. David Knight was out there. It was pretty wicked. And then I went and got my ass handed to me at the Vegas Endurocross.
Nice.
But I kicked that bar's ass. I went straight to the bar, Crown and Coke. I was like winner right here, champion. This was the first quitter? What was I, Steven? What did I say? Last in practice, but first quitter. I don't know. It was clever at the time. We'll go with it. One cut, half off. I cut half off. Tight Woods in Washington. So apparently Tom McIntosh Brapp. I like that name. He cuts off about half an inch on each side, I guess, for the Tight Woods handlebars. And I was thinking about that too, because if you put Barkbusters on, they think they're somewhere between a quarter of an inch to maybe half an inch on each side. So if you were to cut off that little bit, it probably wouldn't make that huge of a difference in leverage. And it might help just a little bit in some of that super, super gnarly tight stuff. I don't know. I've kind of stopped cutting them down. Good, bad, and different. I don't know. I like the leverage. We have so much more open in Texas than we did where I grew up that it's much more beneficial to keep your full leverage and width on the handlebars than it is to cut it down for the every now and again tight stuff.
Yeah, this year is just kind of a learning year for me, and I'm because I've got like a pretty good set of notes for riding out west. So when I got to the Concho, like all my stuff worked awesome. I thought my Enduro spec suspension was all set up really well, and I had good gearing, and everything was good. So I'm really interested. Like I went to the Sandlapper and learned to run Barkbusters. So now I'm going to go to Tennessee and I'll have Barkbusters, and I'll see if I should have cut my bars. So
yep.
Yeah, I think each round is a little bit of a test and tune and go back to the drawing board.
And then what do we have after Tennessee? Let's see here. Schedule.
It should be Missouri, May 18th.
Missouri, May 18th. Oh, that's a good little bit of a break too. So that
I'm ready for a break.
I bet you are. Yeah, so what's the plan there? Is you're going to head to Tennessee? Are you going to head back home after Tennessee again?
Yes, sir.
Ooh,
yep.
Man.
I'm going to be home for, I think, like 6 whole days, and then we're leaving next week, driving to Tennessee.
Man, well, how's Ian doing? Actually, I know he had injured. He was supposed to be coming in and competing XC2 this year in the National Enduros and stuff. I'd imagine since you were going to be driving around with him that you've probably kept up with him a little bit, have you?
Yeah, we're going to be traveling a lot together, and I talked to him some right after the injury happened, and he called me on the way home from Florida, and said he was doing pretty well. You could definitely tell he was jonesing, because we had a little bit of drama on our Florida trip, and he wanted to know like every detail. But the best part is his dad, John. I've seen him at I saw him over the weekend at the Concho. And then I saw him at the Lone Star about a month ago, and I told him, I'm like, John, I feel bad for Ian, but I really feel bad for you. And he said, well, why is that? I'm like, because you were almost ready to get rid of Ian, for like a good 6 months or so, and now you're going to be stuck with broken, bored, pissed off Ian, and I really feel bad for you.
Oh, yeah, I like Ian Blythe. He's a cool dude to meet. I remember last year we did the cool video helmet cam of him and Cole versus each other at one of the, I think it was the Lone Star. There's one of the 2-day Texas races we had last year at the end of the year. I don't know. My brain's not working that well. I don't know. It's out there. You could search for it. It's pretty cool. Like Cole Kirkpatrick versus Ian Blythe. It's a cool video.
Nice.
Well,
so yeah, I'm really hoping he heals up soon. I mean, we had a ton of fun, the little bit of traveling we did last year, so I want him to heal up so we can hit every Chipotle between here and Pennsylvania again.
Nice. That'll be super cool. Well, dude, we wish you luck. You're doing really good in the Open A class, kicking butt, taking names. Hopefully you wind up with a couple wins there in the Nationals. I wish I could be out there with you, continue to be getting beat by you, but unfortunately that may be my last National this year.
Oh, man, you got to make it to Colorado.
I really want to.
I wanted to do a little plug for Colorado. Like, it will be one of the coolest races of the year. Man, I don't really know how I know that because I haven't been to the other ones. But I did the Colorado race last year when it wasn't a national, and it's like some of the coolest stuff I've ever ridden. So you have to come. You got to get in the car and drive. It's only halfway to Idaho.
I know. It's 15 hours, man. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. I don't have the gumption that you have, man.
Well, I'll come pick you up. It's no big deal.
Yeah. All right. You drive the 28 hours to me, and then we'll drive the 15 back, and then you drive the 15 back to drop me off, and then you drive the 28 home.
Let's just say it's not another question.
We'll find some gas sponsors or something, right?
That Ford, I'm gonna need a new van. That new full-size Transit's coming out. Just saying. Be happy to test it for you.
Yeah, I could drive it all over the place. Literally all over the place. Well, cool, man. Well, good luck with all your travels. I think this will be fun. I would like to continue to have you on as the year progresses, because I think it'll be a neat aspect. We'll get to kind of hear about all your fun stories and all your traveling and all the shenanigans that go on in the life of Jubal Brown and traveling the world. I guess in this case, we'll start with the country. We'll move to the world for 2015. How about that?
Man, hopefully you guys will get to follow me to Argentina. I'm trying again. So
Woo-hoo!
ISCE 2014, I had 2012 and we crossed that out and put a 13. I crossed that out, so 14.
Nice. Well,
I'd love to be back on. We're going to be doing some real cool stuff this year. Hitting the National Enduros, be doing some GNCCs. We got a lot of cool adventure bike stuff with some 800 BMWs. There's always some 110s to ride, and then trials bikes for sure. So we're always doing something.
Dig it. Well, man, we're going to have to play around with all of those definitely the next time we hang out. Well, thank you for being on the show. Keep being awesome, and we'll definitely have you on soon, all right?
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Whoop, whoop. Take it easy, dude. All right, well, Mr. Jubal Brown is definitely as fun to have on as I thought he would be, and I much look forward to hearing about his shenanigans. I'm hoping that he's going to be there at Big Buck when we go, so that way we can hang out and see what's going on there. So this has been episode 121. I'll start to kind of close it down for you guys. It's been an interesting start to the year so far. The GNCCs have been packed full of action, lots of mud. It seems like we might unfortunately get another mud race this coming weekend at Steel Creek. We had the National Enduro this weekend. Charlie Mullins is on a roll after this, 2 wins. He's got 60 points. Jesse Grome's in second, 21 points back. I mean, huge point shake-up because all the guys that did well at the Sandlapper didn't really do that great, except for Mullins. This past weekend at Concho, and then we saw some other racing in the Northeast where like Josh String is getting first over Zach Osborne, and then we got Paul Whibley in third. So obviously those guys are out racing. They're really pushing the limits, wanting to keep getting out there and being awesome. So it's cool, man. It's a cool time right now. The year is really just starting. We've got all kinds of other series going on. Please get in touch with us if you want us to talk about any other kind of stuff like that. We know that there's lots of local series, lots of fun stuff going on there. We really appreciate everybody tagging their pictures with a pint full of awesome. That is great. Remember, you can continue to win a bunch of swag from Fly Racing if you continue to tag your pictures with pint full of awesome. Do it. So obviously big thanks to our sponsors for Fly Racing, guys over there at Fast Company, and for everybody over at Stillwell Performance. And they're not just great companies, they're great supporters and partners of Seat Time. And hopefully you as viewers and as fans would like to at least go check out their website, contact them, ask maybe how they could help make your experience on a dirt bike that much better and that much more fun. In case you're wondering, my name is Brian Pierce. I am your host. This has been episode 121 of Seat Time. Seat Time, you can find us at seattime.co is the website. Of course, we are on Facebook. It's facebook.com/seattime. We are on Twitter, twitter.com/seattime_co. And we are on Instagram. It is just regular old Seat Time. One word. Pretty simple. You can find us on YouTube if you would like to subscribe. All the videos will be uploaded there after the fact. Of course, as well, if you just so happen to want to find the audio, you're driving around, Stitcher and iTunes, you can subscribe to us there for the audio-only version. Steven, how you feeling? All right, well, let's send Steven home, folks. He needs to get back to his family. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week. Always enjoy a pint full of awesome.